Hey everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Shelf to Table. It's been a little while since we last recorded, but we're excited to be back. We played a lot of interesting games since we last spoke to you all. That's really awkward.
Yeah, well, yeah. Intros are really hard. I've been doing it on the YouTube channel. Yeah, it is super awkward to try to come up with intro. That's the part on my YouTube channel where I redo it so many times. I'm just like, hey guys, and I'm like, that was stupid. And then hey guys, oh that was stupid. Okay, let's do it again.
At my last job, when I was doing a lot of public speaking, a lot of presentations, I would do a lot of dry runs of things and like scripting and stuff like that. And without fail, like the first time, it was always kind of like that, where you're like, "You're an idiot. Like, why? Who says that? Why would you say something like that?"
And now that we've been playing about the woes of public broadcasting here, trying to kick off an episode, today's going to be a good one because we have played a lot of recent 2025 releases.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to talk about those ones. And then we are doing a Xmas gift exchange. So Josh and I both bought each other a present. We're hoping the other person is going to enjoy it. If not, I think at least we're going to enjoy the present that we bought. So it doesn't really matter, right?
I felt like I definitely bought a game that I knew I would enjoy as well, something that I wanted. Which usually we have somewhat similar taste in games. So
yeah, so I think it'll work out.
I think it'll be a hit.
All right, so with that being said, we're going to dive into, like I said, this list of 2025 games, and we're going to kick things off super strong. I think this is a game we both really enjoyed. This is going to be Nemesis Retaliation. So I'm the proud owner of multiple Nemesis games. I've recently gotten rid of the original Nemesis because I bought Retaliation and I was like, I don't really need 3 versions of Nemesis. I really liked Lockdown, so I still own Lockdown, mainly because I wasn't sure how Retaliation was going to land, so I wanted to save that one.
No.
But finally got Nemesis Retaliation to the table, and it was phenomenal. I think Awakened Realms did a fantastic job. So just as a call out here, trying to get a little more professional here. So this Nemesis Retaliation is, I thought I said don't go to sleep. Fine. This is designed by Adam Kopinski. There's a lot of artists listed in here and published by Awakened Realms. Now, like I said, this is the 3rd one in the series. So this is their 3rd attempt, and they did a lot of refinement on this game. First up, rulebook. Rulebook is a huge, you don't have to deal with the rulebook. I have to deal with the rulebooks.
I have not taught this game.
Rulebooks for original Nemesis and new Nemesis, both of them just absolutely, or Nemesis Lockdown, both of them terrible. Retaliation, fantastic. It still has its issues. Like, I still didn't have a perfect grasp of the game after reading the rules, right? But I felt like they did a really good job organizing information. They simplified some of the processes. They made the game easier to explain. Like, I felt like teaching it was a little more streamlined than it was in the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I absolutely loved the experience of this game. And you know what? I'm going to let Josh take over on this one because I think he had the most fun.
That's right. I won, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, this was a 10 out of 10 for me. We were talking about this before we started recording. I first played Nemesis Lockdown, and I've played all of them, I guess, at least once. Lockdown I've played a few times. But Lockdown was a highlight for me going into this. Original Nemesis I thought was good, but maybe, I don't know. I thought Lockdown added a lot of like interesting like mechanics that
with the power and the elevator and stuff. Like,
yeah. But even still, I kind of felt a little bit limited at times with like what I could do. I felt like I would be like stuck in a room with an alien, and you can't really fight back most of the time. There are like occasions
you're mostly
where you
just running away.
Yeah, I did feel like I was doing a lot of running away and like slowly dying, and it was cool mechanically. Like, I love the Alien movies. I love that influence. I love the theming, and I had a great time playing it. But Retaliation
and the goals, I think you want to call out the goals that you have during the game, right? Like that's probably what really was that's probably the thing that brought us back to it.
For sure.
It's like having those semi-cooperative / hidden traitor type of thing going on, right? Like that.
I love the sort of like distrust that builds throughout the game, and especially like, it starts off very cooperative, and then you get kind of late in the game and you might have your player goal to eliminate the other players and things like that. I love those. I love being able to like sort of like
betray people.
Yeah, betray people. I just think it's super fun. I believe you can play it totally cooperatively if you like, right? Yes. I don't think that would be as fun. Maybe it would be interesting if you're playing on like hardcore mode or whatever was introduced in Retaliation. But anyways, just to get back to it, I totally agree with Chance. I rated this a 10 out of 10. I think it's phenomenal. I think as far as like stuff that I noticed improving, I really liked the health system in the in this version. I liked I felt like I had more agency in the game. Like I could do more of what I wanted to do and kind of explore more and fight back against the aliens a little bit. I didn't feel so pigeonholed. Sometimes in the original and in Lockdown, I would kind of just, like I said earlier, just like get stuck in a room somewhere. Everything's on fire around you. There's aliens in the room. You can't interact with anything in there. And you just feel kind of like stuck, which I get is like part of the idea. But in Retaliation, I felt a lot more like, hey, I could like blow some of these aliens up or like shoot down the corridor or burst or throw a grenade or, you know, whatever it may be. And just have a lot more agency to traverse the map. And I thought the I don't know how you felt about it, but like, the procedurally generated map where you're like laying out tiles as you go, I thought was really cool and really interesting.
I'll actually call out on the map part because I felt like this was a really nice change from the Nemesis, the original and the Nemesis Lockdown. So with this map, you actually have rooms and corridors. Now, the characters are moving between the rooms only, so they never stop in the corridors, whereas the aliens, they're generally spawning in the corridors. That's where they arrive at. They also have to move through the corridors. So this creates a little bit of a buffer between you and the aliens because the aliens have a two-step move process. They no longer just like rush from room to room, and you have a little more time to plan things out and to prepare for those things happening. Then also, like you kind of mentioned the burst thing in there. So with the attacking, I felt like they made that a lot better. So aliens in the room are still super dangerous. They're hard to kill. You don't know if you're going to kill them or not. You fire your gun, you're guaranteed one hit as long as they're in the room, but then you roll this die to say, like, how much health does that alien have left? So it still has the randomness of like, okay, maybe you did 4 damage to it and you roll a 5 on that die and it's still alive. And you're like, God damn.
Yeah.
But the burst was like the really cool part where if they're in the corridor, you have a horde of them in there, you roll that burst die and then you just start mowing those guys down and you just clear them out of those corridors. So I thought that was a really nice change of pace, that it still had a lot of the tension in Nemesis Lockdown with like the aliens being dangerous when they're in your room, but you still had a lot more agency over being able to kind of manage those aliens. So
yeah, that's a good point. I feel like you know, like you feel more powerful as a player, but it's not to the point that like the aliens are trivial. They still are very dangerous, and being trapped in a room with one isn't good. You just feel like you have more tools to kind of deal with them in spite of that. Other stuff, oh man, I had something at the tip of my tongue. Oh, the characters. I thought the characters were great. They felt a lot more interesting to me than in the previous ones. I don't know if it was just like I played as the drone technician or like the UAV guy.
And I'll call out that was one of the characters of the expansion for the support squad. So I had more characters than the base game provided, which was I think that's always a good addition to games, is having more characters for people to choose from.
Yeah, I felt that character in particular was like one of the most, and like I said, I've played variations of like different Nemesis games, probably like 5 or so times. This was easily like the most interesting character I've had. I had some really powerful abilities to like send the drone out to scan rooms and help me move like more quietly.
He's basically like a pet dog. You got to go and like have him do fetch and stuff.
My favorite part was I forget what the name of the goal was, but my goal was basically to be the lone survivor, to like eliminate everyone and make it out. And I was able to send my drone into the surgery room where like Chance was, and I was trying to get some of our other like players in there as well. And I was able to actually auto-destruct the UAV to blow up, to like damage the room, by the way, damage all the players.
I want to call out how this happened, because so first up, the goal system on this one, I felt like it was really good because there's like a mission task for everybody, and essentially that's kind of the co-op aspect. A lot of players will have the goal of saying like, if you want to, you can choose to complete the mission objective for the squad. Now, the way the goal deck is set up is that most people will be dealt that goal at the beginning of the game. But there is one goal card in there that says like, you want to be the lone survivor. And that was the one Josh got. So you don't know if that's going to be even in the game, but yeah, Josh had it. Now, what happened with the surgery room was I just got done killing the queen. And now I will mention that I sacrificed another player to the queen, and he got murdered. I just left him there. Still has player elimination, by the way. So they didn't take that out. I think that's still the only major downside. But you know, it's part of the game, and I feel like it kind of has to be there to make the rest of the game work.
Yeah.
So that's the downside. But other than that, yeah, I left my friend there to die. I was in the surgery room. I finally killed the queen. I was like, because that was my task. I was like, killing the queen was my goal in the game. And then, I got attacked by like a larva. I got infected, and I was like, oh, great. Okay, this is fine. I'm in the surgery room. I'll just, I'll just take care of this larva. I'll pay my cards. And then Josh moved his drone in there. I was like, Josh, why is your drone in here? You told me like a couple turns ago that you can blow up your drone.
I should not have mentioned that.
Yeah, why did you put your drone in this room? I don't know. And then he just smiles, and I'm like, son of a. So that was my experience with Josh as the drone operator.
Yeah. The other cool thing about the characters was being able to like order people around. I thought you can, each of the characters has like a rank, and you can issue orders to people that are of like a lower rank than you. There are some card reactions that allow you to kind of like disobey. But I had a lot of fun just like ordering people to shoot at aliens, or like,
Yeah.
I forget if you can order people to move into a particular room or things like
You can order them to move, you just can't order them to be attacked, basically. Like you can, yeah. And I was going to mention that I was the medical officer or whatever, which was the least senior person on the team. So anyone could order me around. And I remember that after you failed to kill me, you decided
I did my math wrong on
yeah.
when I blew up.
I had 1 health point left. But then you were just like, I'm just going to order you to move into another room. And then I managed to like roll the die that got me attacked by an alien. I was like, come on.
I think I ordered him into a room that was on fire or something, which like will injure you at the end of the turn.
Exactly. Yeah.
I managed to get attacked on the way. But yeah, I mean, this just really like for me kind of like, I would still play the other Nemesis games. I still think they're great, but this is by far my favorite. If you asked me which one I want to play, like this would be the one 10 times out of 10. If I was the one that owned them, I would probably sell the other ones and just keep Retaliation. It's that good. But yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
No, the last thing I was going to mention was I also like the exit mechanic. So I felt like that was always the hardest thing to teach on Nemesis Lockdown was like, how do you leave the game?
Yep.
And that was always just a pain for me. It was like, oh, here's the victory conditions. Here's the 17 things you have to remember to be victorious. And this one, they streamlined it. They're like, here's like the 2 things you need to do. Like you need to escape, you need to not die of infection, and you need to complete your objective. Like those are it.
It felt a lot streamlined.
Yeah.
In like every sense. Like everything about it was just like cleaner, like easier to explain or like learn.
I felt like there was a little less opportunity for kind of that subterfuge because like there was only the anti-aircraft token that was kind of the hidden thing in there. Whereas other games had like the contingency tokens and Nemesis Lockdown where you're trying to do a little bit of a deduction game with those ones. But it just adds to the rules overhead. I don't feel like it's worth it to have those things. I felt like Nemesis Retaliation kind of got rid of a lot of the what's called bloat, I guess, while keeping a lot of the core structure of the game and keeping that joy of the semi-co-op experience, that trader mechanic, and just giving you a little more agency, like feeling like you have a little more control instead of just being beat down by the game constantly.
Yeah, I will say if you are a masochist and you like the like original Alien movie and that's what you're after, like Nemesis and Nemesis Lockdown are like great for that. Retaliation to me was just a little more, like we talked about, streamlined, more fun to play. Like I thought it was better in every way.
I feel like we could have just called this episode Nemesis Retaliation Review. I could talk about this for another like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was great. If you get the chance to play it, definitely give it a shot. Super good game.
All right, let's be done with that one. Maybe we'll get a full review of that one in the future, a full 45-minute spotlight on it. And now we're gonna move on to a game that Josh recently picked up. So you take it away.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit in a previous, like one of our earliest, I should say, podcast. We talked about picking this up, kind of like I don't know, it was kind of an impulse purchase for me. Like didn't know a ton about it, but loved the artwork, loved the concept. And that's going to be Kinfire Council. Kinfire Council, I think for us, just to kind of give you the short of it, ended up being, I think you coined this phrase, but it kind of like a Lords of Waterdeep killer or a Lords of Waterdeep
at least for me.
Replacement.
Yeah.
Really, really fun worker placement game. It's been a little while since we played it, but just like phenomenal production. I thought everything about it was like really interesting. And I thought it did a lot to kind of, the Lords of Waterdeep comparisons are fair, and I think it did a lot to kind of iterate on that with some cool mechanics, like the ability to vote on like policies that might impact the other players and change the rules of the game and provide some sort of like persistent carryover. But yeah, this is going to be essentially a worker placement game where you're playing almost semi-cooperatively. A nice carryover from Nemesis, where you have like the players who represent the counselors or like the city officials in the city of Dinlux, and it came with like this really cool art book with like the lore and like world building and stuff like that. But you're going to be playing as these sort of like counselors and essentially sending workers out to help do things that like protect the city and build the city up and kind of maneuver against this other player that's like the shadow cult. I forget exactly what it's called, but the cult is sort of like an evil influence on the city. And And actually, some players can ally themselves with the cult, or one player can, based on like their influence with the cult. So it's kind of cool from that perspective as well. What did you think of it?
Yeah, so I think the main call out here is that I did compare this to Lords of Waterdeep. I felt like it falls in the same genre for me. It's worker placement, has those city spaces, but it also has the fact that you can kind of upgrade locations and put down like your token.
Yeah.
And that's where I got the Lords of Waterdeep, where you can like build a building and you get like a bonus for people going to the building that you built.
Yeah.
So kind of same thing with Kinfire Council. You can upgrade a spot, and then when someone goes there, you're going to gain a little bonus for that person going to your upgraded building. Now, I definitely, so I rated this game an 8 out of 10 on BGG right now. But I do want to call it, I do have my gripes with it. Like, I don't think it's perfect. There's some issues where, like, starting up the game, there's a lot of action spaces. And unfortunately, like, the action spaces, and I heard one podcast compare it to, like, Feast for Odin, but Feast for Odin has, like, 100 or whatever. but they called out that, Feast for Odin, they're grouped together in a logical manner. Like, you know where to go to do this one certain, or this, the area of the board to look at if you're trying to do one certain thing. Whereas Kinfire Council, it was kind of like everything was randomly spread across, and then also most spaces had like 2 options on them. So I felt like in the beginning of the game, there was a lot of hunting. There was a lot of hunting for like, okay, how do I get this resource? What do I do with this one resource?
That's a great point.
Yep. So there was a lot of hunting in the beginning of the game. It had a nice little reference that you could put like 2 references on both sides of the table, just so you can kind of look through those and glance through them quickly, so you can figure out what tier you need to go to or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was kind of one of the downsides with the intro, but I feel like that's a common complaint for a lot of games. So it's just a hurdle.
That's a worker placement problem in general. But yeah, I agree with you though. And resources are very tight. So like Gian said, there's a lot of hunting. Like, hey, I need this specific kind of resource. Like, how do you generate that?
Yeah.
And a lot of it, like other things that are coming to mind, just like the ability to upgrade workers and like train workers.
Well, I like
that
that
really
a lot.
cool.
Yeah.
So you could like train workers in different disciplines that would let them
You could
maybe share spaces.
Yeah, share spaces.
Yeah, capture cultists. You could send characters. You have sort of like a mega worker who is
your hero
your hero, basically. Yeah, your seeker. That's what they're
called.
Your seeker you could send out on like quests to defeat monsters and things like that, and like help decrease the cult's influence and like eliminate dangers to the city and things like that. And that, if you get like the proper engine built, I felt like was really like, if you were on a sequence of consistently having the right resources to send your seekers out on quests, was like a really powerful mechanism as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of like progressing through the game. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I'm eager to play it some more.
Yeah, I agree. And the last 2 things I'll call out. So I want to mention that, like I said, I rated this an 8. I just want to mention the things that I felt like were iffy on it. And one of them was the cult. I felt like the cult for us at 4 players was not very influential. But I didn't feel like we were at the thread of the cult. I didn't feel like anyone was nearing the point of wanting to like align with the cult. I feel like that's one part of the game that we didn't really engage with all that much. It was kind of like we had a pretty easy time of like clearing out the cultists and clearing out the negative consequences of the cult, which is good because that's like the semi-co-op. If we didn't do anything, then maybe it would have done something. And I feel like I want to see what happens when one player tries to like promote the cult a little bit more. And I have read that player count can kind of determine the impact of the cult. Like I think I read that at 4 players, the cult is usually not too much of a problem, but like 3 and 5, it plays out very differently.
Okay.
So
interesting.
So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. And it's just kind of unfortunate that I feel like they may not have balanced that all that well for player count. And then the other one I want to call out is the voting. I really wish they would have leaned more into the voting, because I felt like it was kind of difficult to engage with the voting system, because you had to spend a whole worker to like go and do that vote action.
And there are limited spaces to even do that.
Exactly.
If you really wanted to oppose someone
on those votes, the
spaces would have to be.
And you had a limited number of tokens that you could even put out on those ones. So I wish they would have leaned into that voting system a little bit more, because I wanted that to be a little more impactful. Yeah. That was my only, those are my gripes on the game. But overall, I thought this was a very solid worker placement game. I like like you said, the upgrading of the workers, having that seeker, having those spaces outside the city that you get to send your seeker to. And I felt like there was, like, it was a really fun resource management puzzle. I felt like it was interactive with other players. I like that everyone's goals are kind of visible on the table, so you can kind of like plan your turn out and be like, oh, I can block them out of doing this action. I can block them from doing that, or I need to do this before they do that because I need those resources. So it had a lot of things that I really like about worker placement, and overall it was a hit for me.
Solid game for sure. Looking forward to returning to it. I do have the expansion as well, which I've read does some things with the cult, and does some things where like the city can become damaged, and some more interesting wrinkles as expansions tend to do. So I'm looking forward to returning to Dinlux for that one.
All right, and so just as a call out, that one was designed by Kevin Wilson and published by Incredible Dream Studios. So that's Kinfire Council.
And they did a fantastic job with the production.
Oof, yeah.
We've talked about the other Kinfire games before, Kinfire Delve specifically, and just like phenomenal production. All of that.
Agreed. All right, and now we're going to be moving on. And you own so many of these games. I'm starting this one. I feel like this is like a list of your games, basically. So another game that we've actually played quite a bit of now is the published in 2025. This is one that was on the BGG Hotness. This is going to be Take Time. So now we're moving out of the semi-co-op and going into the full co-op genre here, Designers for this one are going to be Alexi Piovinson, and sorry if I butcher these names, and then Julian Protheri, and then publisher of, I don't even know, Wibuild. And then Simon, I think, is probably the distributor near us, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Take Time is going to be a full co-op game, and I really compare this game to The Mind. Like, The Mind is that game where everyone's dealt their hand of cards, and you're trying to play them in ascending order without speaking to anyone else during the game. Now, Take Time takes that. And they advance a little bit. You get this clock that you put out on the board. That clock has, I think, 6 areas around it, and players are going to be playing cards mostly face down into those 6 areas, and you're basically trying to make an ascending sequence of cards around that clock. So you can actually play multiple cards in that same area to increase the value. So if someone plays a 2, another person plays 4 in that area, that clock face is a 6 now. And generally, as you advance through the game, your goal is just to go in ascending order from 1 to 24. You can't exceed 24 on that last clock face. Before the game starts, you're going to be dealt out your hand of cards, and then before you can look at them, players get to discuss the strategy. Now, in the beginning, on our first plays of this, it was like, well, we don't know what's happening, so why would we discuss anything?
Yeah.
And then as we played it a bit more, now we're usually discussing things a little bit more. We look at the rules because there's going to be different rules for the different scenarios, and there's a ton of scenarios in the box. It'll be like, oh, you can't play 1, 2s, and 3s in this spot, or 6, 7s, and 8s on this spot. So we're going to plan things out and be like, okay, let's plan on throwing like a big card here, or maybe like multiple cards over here. Let's try to get this spot to like a 10 to a 14. That'll give us a little more wiggle room with these other areas on the board. So we do a little bit more planning in that discussion, but I feel like it doesn't that time doesn't really overstay its welcome for me. And then we go into that phase of just silence, and everyone just plays their cards, and then we see how it goes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like about this is that this is one that, like, we've been pulling out at the end of the night. It's really easy to just pull out and like just do a couple rounds of and have a good time with. I've questioned like if we're going to work through all the scenarios or if it's going to lose its appeal or not, but I feel like it's just a nice one to just pull and play. So yeah,
it's just, I would agree with that 100%. I think it's just so easy to like bring this game to the table. Incredibly easy to teach. Essentially, I mean, I think when there's like 3 phases, one of them is just dealing the cards and like talking strategy. One of them is playing the cards, and the last one is just evaluating if you played them in the correct sequence and like met the rules, of which there are like less than 5. Yeah. Are they in ascending order, or did you? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like this a lot as like a filler type game where you just kind of pull it out when you're between your Nemesis, Retaliation, and Kinfire Council, and you need a little downtime to just like, I was going to say turn your brain off, but you can't turn your brain off. Yeah. It is very challenging.
It lands in like the category of like the crew for me. Crew, you just pull out, play a couple hands of, call it a good night or whatever.
Yeah, Slambo games like that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of this. I think I rated it quite highly. It's just enjoyable, it's my kind of game. You can play it with anyone. You don't have to be like a hardcore gamer. And, I think it's got widespread appeal. Ratings on BGG look quite high actually for this type of game. Yeah. We did an episode on stocking stuffers, and this is too big of a box to be a stocking stuffer, but this is a game I would consider like gifting to anybody who likes board games, really, like in the family and friends and things like that. If you do like an office gift exchange, it's great.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that one. So that is Take Time. And Josh, this is a recent one that just arrived that I was pretty happy to play.
Yeah, I see you've rated this the same as me. This is one that I think for both of us is a 10 out of 10. Really like I would say a pleasant surprise. I didn't think I wasn't going to like it, but I didn't think I was going to end up loving it as much as I did. And that is Scales of Fate from Ivy Studios. So designers on this are Max Anderson, Zach Dixon, and Austin Harrison. With the artist being Harry Conway. Lots to love about this game. If you've played, oh man, I'm gonna mix up the names. So there's Pillars of Fate, which is a lane battler. There is Veiled Fate, which is sort of like the bigger version of this game.
Yep.
And Scales of Fate is going to be essentially Veiled Fate, but for 2 players. Very much a dueler. If you've played Veiled Fate, I think a lot of it will be familiar to you. You're each controlling two. Not controlling, you're controlling all of the demigods.
You're aligned.
But you're aligned with 2 demigods. And, what's interesting about this one that I think was not the case in Veiled Fate is you could actually have the same, or maybe at higher player counts.
Yeah, so it's interesting that, and you're getting to the point where we both choose 2 demigods from our respective decks, and we can actually have the same demigods.
Yeah.
In the lower player counts of Veiled Fate, everyone is guaranteed to have a different demigod, but in higher player counts of Veiled Fate, you are going to have a teammate that is unknown to you at the table.
Yeah.
So a bit different though, because this one, it just is that in 2 player, for Scales of Fate, it's just like, oh, you guys could just be aligned with the same person. You could be going for the same score.
Very much like a hidden information deduction game where like Chance was saying, you're each aligned with these 2 demigods. You don't know who the other person's aligned with. And then you're sending them out to different positions on the board, trying to either gain victory points for that demigod or lose victory points for that demigod, because there's a couple, well, really, I should say a few scoring conditions. One of them is that you can score points if your 2 demigods are aligned in the same space. So if both of your demigods have like 15 victory points at the end of the game, then you score those 15 points. The other thing you can do is actually lose victory points for one of the demigods, or lose favor, or whatever they call it, and gain it for the other one and score the difference, which to me is maybe more interesting. They were both.
I think it's the safer. I think the more interesting, at least from my perspective, the more interesting one is trying to get them on the same spot, because
it's harder to do. Yeah,
it's so easy to knock them off. Yeah, exactly.
Because the other thing is the last way you can score points really is by correctly deducing like who your opponent's demigods are. So you play across these like 3 phases or ages. And so you're kind of like taking notes, you're scribbling, on the fancy deluxeified version I got, you have like your special notebook and your little pencil.
Which I'll mention was kind of useless. I gave up. I just made X's and stuff.
Yeah. But it's a ton of fun trying to deduce like, hey, I wonder who like Chance is controlling. He's been like sending this one to some pretty negative scoring positions, or he's been trying to bump this one up consistently.
I do feel like there were 2 ways to do that. It was kind of like, I was paying attention to who you were placing. Like, I wanted to see, like, who you were placing. I was also trying to be careful of who I placed. Because I didn't want to, like, reveal who I was to you. But the other part was those end of round, those age things. Yeah. So this is where that deduction part comes out, is that at the end of every age, there's 3 ages during the game. There's, like, a condition on this card. It's going to say, like, because there's a limited number of action spaces, and there's like 9 demigods, so not all of them are going to be played every round. So like at the end of age 1, it might say like, say if one of your demigods has not been placed during this round, or has not been played. So basically, if one of your demigods is out, if they're on the outside of the board, you're going to be like, yep, I got one in that area. And then that's going to give that other player information. They're going to be like, oh, now I can eliminate all these gods, and I know, like, you're going to be one of these guys on the board. I've taken it from 9 down to, like, 5 or something, which is great. But this is also changing up how I play during that age, because it might be like, oh, I kind of want to have my demigod split, so you don't really know where 2 of mine are. Or because if both mine are on the board and I give you a thumbs down, it's just like everyone that has been played is now eliminated from your pool of decisions when you have to get to that end. Yeah. So I felt like those end of age things were really cool, and trying to manage what demigods you had where, just to change up the information that you'd give that other player, was a really good design.
Yeah. And I would say it's a really satisfying moment, or like a really fun and like tense moment at the end of the game when you're like guessing what demigods the player was aligned with. One of the better like deduction moments I've had, because I mean, I'm sure we'll get better at it as we go, but it wasn't like always obvious. There maybe were a few times where one of them was like clear or not, but there were a fair number of times where, I was just like, sort of, I had kind of an idea, but it wasn't 100%, like, are you aligned with like so and so and so and so? And it's kind of like, no.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I'm going to call it's very imperfect deduction. Like, this is not a perfect deduction game.
Yeah.
And you are doing some social deduction. You're just trying to like judge the other player and like judge their intentions, judge who they are, like trying to figure out, oh, what do I think you are doing? Like, how do I think you think about how your actions played a role and like made me think you were doing certain things. So it's that type of deduction where you're trying to judge the other player's actions. You get a little bit of information to kind of narrow the field a little bit, but not enough to be like a guaranteed guess at the end, which that's the type of deduction I like, especially in the head-to-head situation. Like if we're doing like 4-player, I really like Search for Planet X, where it's that perfect deduction game where you're trying to solve for that one location. But for that head-to-head experience, I really enjoy those ones where you don't have all the information. You're trying to really kind of dive into like how that player sees the problem in front of them. And yeah.
And it was kind of nice. I think I'm remembering this correctly, that even if you correctly guess like both of the demigods, it's worth like 3 points.
Yeah. It wasn't like
it's not like the other person guessing who you were aligned with is going to like make or break the game for you. Like you could still win, based on like how you like spaced them out or like aligned them on the scoring track. And the last thing I would say about this is just like it plays super fast. I see on BGG they're estimating like 30 to 60 minutes. I would say 30 was probably like much closer to what we average.
Although we tend to not want, like, I feel like both of us are in the category of like, if we're spending too long on our turns, we're just like, nope, I'm just moving on. So
yeah, that's fair. I could see it. Honestly, like depending on who you're playing with, like, yeah, this could probably, that 60 minutes might actually arrive depending on who you play with.
Yeah, if you have someone
really working hard on your deduction or like thinking things out. But ultimately, I think Chance mentioned this earlier, there's really only a handful of action spaces each age.
Super easy.
From. So yeah, it's a nice blend of like, I don't like things when they get too crunchy, but there's a little bit of crunch to this that I like. I like the deduction element. I love the production. It's a beautiful game. Shout out to IB Studios. So yeah, I would highly recommend this. Like I said, this was a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yep. Same here. Scales of Fate. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait to play it again. All right. And you know what? I'm going to kick off this next one for Josh here. This is another one that Josh owns. I own Nemesis Retaliation. I feel like Nemesis Retaliation cost though. It had kind of equaled out for the 2025.
You probably did all the rest of these games.
Exactly. Yeah. So but this next one's a brand new one from, I think it was Paul Denon, who is definitely a favorite designer among us. This is published by Direwolf, and this is going to be Lightning Train. So just to call out, like, Dune Imperium Uprising, that's my number one game of all time right now. Like, I absolutely love playing Dune Imperium. And we are currently playing Clank, Legacy 2, which is a lot of fun. I really like Clank Catacombs. So Paul Denon is just, he's a solid designer. He makes some fantastic games. And Lightning Train, I feel like, is one of those games where, I have a good time with it. I'm imagining that my rating might be a little lower than Josh's, but it is one of those games that I still really enjoyed playing. Now, it still has kind of the Paul Denon design stuff with it. Like, it's instead of a deck builder, you're doing a bag builder, but it uses a lot of similar mechanics in there. It's kind of like you have a discard pile for your tokens that you draw. You're going to refill your bag once you can't draw any more tokens. So kind of like reshuffling your discard, getting those back in there. He has his market up at the top of the board where you can buy new tiles to add to your bag. So kind of like adding cards to your deck. So really it has a lot of the trappings of just a standard deck builder, right? But the difference in here is that this is a train game of sorts. It is. It's like Ticket to Ride almost. Like you're building these routes out. And the part that I really, really enjoyed about this game was the fact that you had this shared board that you're building out with the other players, and you were putting down either stations or trains. Those stations are going to determine like what good needs to be delivered there. So each station needs either one or two goods, and you only need to deliver it once. But the way you deliver a good is by sending a good from where it spawned on the board. Like there's going to be some spawn points for the different types of goods, and you're going to transfer it through all the train lines, and whoever has a train on a train line is going to score points for that good. So basically you want to try to build train lines, like super long train lines too, the longer the better, and have a destination for that good to go to where you're going to score multiple points when someone tries to deliver that good. And I really like that interactive design with that main board in this game. I thought that was probably my favorite design point of that. So what did you think?
I had a blast with this one. I felt like our first play was maybe a little bit uneven. Just like, I think the teach, like, it's not immediately, I think it's a game that merits like multiple plays. And, I think there's like a lot of strategy that you kind of learn as you go. I love bag builders. I think it might be my favorite mechanic. It's not one, I really don't own any bag builders aside from like Quacks of Quedlinburg and now Lightning Trade, but like Orleans, I love.
Bullet Heart.
Bullet Heart's great. But it's just a mechanic I find really satisfying and really fun. I like deck building as well, but to me, like bag building is it's more tactile.
Satisfying.
Yeah, it's just satisfying when you get like that really awesome, you actually feel like you're building up this really awesome bag and you're pulling your tiles out and you're like, wow, this is really cool. But yeah, first play was a little uneven. I think this landed at maybe like a 7.5 or maybe an 8 for me. I could definitely see it if it was a 7.5, I think would get there. with a few more plays. I think this is definitely a keeper. I agree with the points Chance made. We definitely had a runaway leader when we played. If you're not like, and that's one of those things where I'm like, I feel like if you play this more, that's probably less of a thing. If you're all on the same page about how to kind of block each other and play like more optimally. But for a first play, I thought it was like pretty smooth. And yeah, I don't care about train games, if I'm being honest. Like I probably won't ever buy another one. But so the theme to me was just kind of like, you know.
Also, the title is absolutely pointless. Lightning Train. I don't know.
Yeah, Lightning Train is actually a mechanic in the game where you gather like additional trains.
You got like bonus instant trains
on your player board. Yeah, so it didn't really make sense.
It's a weird name for the game that, I don't know. Yeah.
It's funny though. I usually gravitate, like I like strong themes in games, or like themes that I kind of vibe with, and it's just funny to me for this game. I purely enjoy from a mechanical perspective. But I had a blast with it, and I would totally agree with Chance that you said this is like Ticket to Ride, but kind of amped up a little bit in bag buildery.
You got the bag
a little more gamified.
And like you said,
fun.
We did have that runaway leader, but I don't feel like that was a fault of the game. Like it was a fault of the other player.
Definitely just us, yeah.
Like we had one player that once we figured out how the route scoring worked, he had already locked down like an entire region of the board, and basically all goods had to pass through him. So he basically had a nice little train monopoly, which was just scoring him points on everyone's turn.
Shout out to the 1800s, right?
Yeah.
He hit his oligarchy empire.
But very solid game. I'm gonna, it's one that I'm gonna be more than happy to revisit. I really like the deck or the bag building mechanic. I will mention that it kind of has is going to have that luck feeling to it. So I felt like that one player that ran away also had some really good draws.
Sure.
Like we had this little board that we could upgrade to draw additional tiles, and he kept drawing the ones that allowed him to draw those additional tiles. But it was like once I feel like 3 of us upgraded it, and like we never used it.
It's some really powerful tiles, I remember as well. Like one of them we had to like consult a couple times, and I saw some posts in the rules on BGG that I looked at afterwards. People were like, "Is that really what this does?" Think it allowed you to like build a station for free or something. Yeah. So yeah. Some really powerful tiles as well, but yeah, I thought it was really good. I think the BGG rating on this one I think is pretty fair. I could see why someone wouldn't love it. But to me, this is definitely like a solid bag builder. And until another one comes across my table with a piece that I love, that's going to be my bag builder of choice.
Nice. All right, that was Lightning Train. And Josh, this was a super unique one that you picked up. I almost backed this on GameFound, but I was happy you did, because this is just such a unique theme. So you wanna kick us off with this one?
Yeah. So, shout out to Salt and Pepper Games. They're one of my favorites. I don't love everything I've played from them, but everything I at least like everything I've played from them. And there's like several that I have.
And they make a good box size and everything. Like they pack a lot of experience in that box.
Yeah. And you've mentioned this, but you said like an interesting theme or like a unique theme. And I would say maybe like the most of any board game I've played, maybe the most unique or interesting theme. And that's Battle of the Divas. This was another one that I rated really highly after our first play. I actually brought it for us to maybe play today or play this week. But yeah, this is just like, I don't even know how I would describe this. You're playing as 2 rival opera singers, right? And you have like this, it's almost like a lane battler of sorts, where you both where the lanes are like different operas that are going on. There's a worker placement element where you're placing notes and workers on like a keyboard, and you have like your vocal range, which is represented on the keyboard.
It's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, you're kind of like trying to put your worker in like a space where they can take like the neighboring actions on the piano. And then, really what you're trying to do is like through card play and things like that, like, and through strategic placement on the piano, like rack up points at the individual operas and then close down the opera house, scoring points for that. And then, it's funny for such a small box game. I feel like there's a lot going on, and it was a really enjoyable puzzle for me. I thought the theme was awesome.
Yeah, and Josh and I have been playing a lot of lane battlers, so it's a genre that we really like, I think. And this one just was a super unique one in that genre. And it was kind of cool where it wasn't like one person just straight up won the lane, because both players could score on that.
Points, yeah, regardless.
It's basically like however good they're doing, and you had this decision space of being like, oh, do I want to like finish this opera to score like the points I have, but you know your opponent's going to score points, and you're like, well, maybe I just want to close this one out so they can't score more in the next turn. And then they had the little tug of war thing with being able to move this other like scoring token with the orchestra up, which was really cool. So it had a couple different things.
The timeline?
Yeah, the timeline was really cool too. Or you could add cards to the timeline, which would be like events in the Divas' lives, and these would be like negative things that you could do to the other player on that timeline. And I love the names of the cards, the design of it, the story behind it. Like, this is something I never heard of, and it kind of, Salt and Pepper does a really good job of like bringing out kind of these interesting historical things that, yeah, you probably wouldn't have heard of if you didn't play these board games.
We should call out actually the designer, Albert Reyes. Really cool game. Artist was Javi de Castro. I thought the art was really good on this. The production was awesome and Salt and Pepper games typically like, $30 to $40 maybe. And that's like when you're kickstarting it. So like that's, maybe a little more pricey. Just fantastic games. I like this. I like Abimus Papum. I like The Hunt. I like Watergate. They're killing it.
And I like their solar games too. We got Resist, Witchcraft, and I've been playing Conservice.
Queen of Spies, is that
something? I'm back in Queen of Spies and GameFound. So, yep. This is another hit. I'm excited to play it again. So that is going to do it for Battle of the Divas.
Yeah.
And now let's move on to, this is our 2024 game. So, we're sneaking we just talked about a boat for 2025. So, yeah, but
a throwback to like last year.
So this is one that we've been holding on to for a little bit. This is going to be Undaunted 2200? Yeah, 2200. I was going to say 2020, but I was like, that's not right. Undaunted 2200 Callisto. This is designed by the duo, Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson, published by Osprey Games. Now, Josh's been holding on to this one for a little while now because we've been playing Undaunted Stalingrad. Yeah. We finally wrapped up that. We did a whole podcast episode reviewing Undaunted Stalingrad and basically mentioned that we both really love the Undaunted system. Like, it's a fantastic deck building system. I love the fact that, like, you start out with a small deck of cards representing your squad, and you have access to, like, your whole supply during the game. Basically, like, when you play this one card, you can bolster your squad, and basically just go and get to select whatever cards you want to add to your deck. So you have a lot of control over how you're building that deck, which I feel like is where Undaunted really shines.
Yeah.
But the World War II themes and stuff don't really land with myself, and I don't think Josh really gravitates towards those.
Yeah, I thought historically it was kind of interesting, but ultimately I felt like this sci-fi theme was really strong for me and just something I enjoyed more.
Exactly. So we were both super excited to get the sci-fi theme to the table with this set of mechanics that we really like. And yeah, I'm going to state that I really love this one. This is my favorite version of Undaunted. Okay. Right next to Line of Fire. I really like the Lane Battle or Line of Fire. Like, that one's fantastic.
Same designers, I believe.
Yeah, same designers.
I believe Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson are responsible for that one as well.
Yep. But this one, I like some of the changes they made. So it has the core Undaunted system, but they added elevation to it. So they made the maps have a little more 3D of a feel to them. And essentially you get different dice depending on like what level you are on versus your enemy. So you can roll like an advantage die or disadvantage die, which I thought was really cool. There's also the mechs and the machines that come out, which do things a little bit differently. Yeah. So I felt like all the changes in here, they were all for the better. I've listened to one podcast stating like that they don't think this is the best entry point for Undaunted. But I'm kind of of the opinion, like, if you don't care for the World War II theme, this is a great entry point for Undaunted. Like, I highly recommend it. I also love that the maps were fixed, so it was easier to set up. Now, I do have to call out that the maps have
there's a little bit of a misprint on at least one of them.
They tell you they have like a quick setup guide printed on the maps, but the second one we played, I think, had a misprint on it, so that was unfortunate because we were like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. But we found out the rule book was correct, the map was wrong. So that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought this is definitely my favorite version of Undaunted. So what do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what you said. I think it's my favorite Undaunted entry. I think there was, if I'm gonna like pick nits or like talk about things I maybe didn't like, I think the rule book, there's a little bit of ambiguity about some of the things like bridges and like the way elevation worked as far as like the way the map itself was printed. I love the art and I love the map, but basically like we had some questions early on, like in our first few games of like, hey, can I move from like here to here? I don't see like a ladder.
Yeah, can you move like
down? Can I just move up and down?
Yeah.
And we were able to suss out answers to those questions through like the rule book and through like BGG posts and things like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't immediately clear and it was a little bit of a pain, but ultimately, like I said, I'm picking nits here. This is a game that you play over and over again. So if I play this like 20 times and the first time I'm struggling with the rules a little bit, I'm not too concerned about that in the grand scheme of things.
And I feel like I should call out that since we did play the Undaunted Stalingrad campaign and we played the Line of Fire, the Wayne Battler, we have a decent amount of experience with Undaunted at this point. So that probably made Undaunted 2200 here definitely easier to play for us.
Most of the rulebook was pretty familiar.
I do feel like that first play,
there's a little more going on, but yeah.
I do feel like the first time you're introduced to the Undaunted system, it was confusing. Like when we were first starting Undaunted Stalingrad, I remember being like, wait, what does this action do? What does this action do? What does this keyword mean? What do these two numbers mean for the attack symbol, right? Like there are all sorts of questions. So I do want to mention that while I do think this is a fine entry point, like if you want to get started on the sci-fi version, this is fantastic. Undaunted itself, just learning the base system, there's gonna be that hurdle to get over, like that learning curve.
A little bit of learning, yeah. But ultimately, I think it's like fairly. Like, once you understand what's going on, it's very straightforward.
It's only weighted at a 2.88, so
another thing I want to call out with this one is I thought the asymmetry was a little more pronounced than it was in like the other Undaunted entries we've played, or I guess mostly Stalingrad is what I'm speaking to here. Line of Fire you're pretty much identical factions, I believe. In this one, the one player is playing as sort of like the miners, and like they're more of like the working class on Callisto, and then the other player is playing as like the corporation who has a bunch of fancy mechs and things like that. So the miners are kind of fighting with like scavenged gear, and I just felt like the asymmetry was really cool. To me, I'm a big fan of that in board games in general, especially in like 2-player games. Like I'd love to see like I don't want 2 decks of identical units and cards. This did a really good job of kind of varying that. I think we've each at this point played each faction at least once or twice. I just think it's cool. There's a little bit of a hurdle in like, you look at the map and you're like, he has like I'm just making up names now, but like a welder out on the map. And I'm like, what do welders do? Like, do they command control points, or can they attack my mechs or not? So there's a little bit of like name recognition you have to like start to digest or build.
That's very true. Yeah.
But overall, I think it's a fantastic game. I think this is another one I rated quite highly.
Same. I got it at 9. 9 out of 10.
I think I'm probably in the same neighborhood. Yeah. So definitely, if you're a fan of like, if you've been interested in Undaunted or you're into like a sci-fi dueler, like I think this would be a war game. I think this would be a really good one to pull out.
And I think that'll do it for most of our Just Played. We're going to do a bit of a soft transition here into our Xmas gift exchange, because in the past couple of months, Josh and I actually got each other a board game. So that was not on purpose, but I felt like this would be a good time to see how that gift landed. So Josh can assault me for giving him such a terrible present on this podcast if he would like.
We each had some life events that inspired some gift exchanges. Chance's was more unfortunate. Mine was like a happy change. Yeah. Chance was injured.
So I'm gonna kick things off with Josh's gift. So Josh got a new job. Congratulations, Josh, on your new job.
It's been great.
Yep. And I decided, what, this deserves a board game present. Yeah. And also I know Josh and I get to play the board games he has, so it's basically a present for me.
It's an excuse to buy another game.
Exactly. And I can tell my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm not buying it for me, so it's an okay purchase. The game that I bought for Josh was something that I came across on a podcast. I listened to Board Game Hot Takes, and this was mentioned by one of the people. They were like, I like someone brought it out, never even heard of this game, and he was like, it was weird, it was unique, it was different, and I was like, I'm gonna look this up. I looked at the description of this, I looked at the images, I was like, Josh needs this game. I was like, this is the game that's going to land for Josh. Yeah. So the one I got for Josh is Demoniac. Josh, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, this is a game I like right away when I saw it. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. It's in like a kind of a weird box.
It's like a VHS box.
It looks like a VHS. Yeah. Kind of like Final Girl or something like that as far as like appearance. Demoniac, like it's definitely got this sort of like, I don't know, like 80s kind of horror, 80s, 90s horror feel to it. And I was like, I love this already. I feel like I'm really going to like it. we both were a little unsure of like what to think because on BGG this is rated like an 8. It's got like, what does it have, 9 ratings?
Yeah, 9
Probably 2 of them are
Two
from us.
comments,
So not a lot of ratings, but
no designer listed, no developer, no publisher listed on BGG.
yeah, maybe we can suggest. I don't know how that works. Maybe we suggest some like metadata for this.
There gets some edit going on.
Yeah, I think they have like, yeah. Anyways, super fun game. I thought it was a hit. It's definitely like, it's very random and it's very much like a party game.
It's a social party game.
A social party game for 2 to 4 players. So, if you're just looking for something kind of fun or like, I don't know, like wacky to break out, like I think it's a lot of fun. And what you're doing in the game is, it's essentially broken up into like phases. So you each have a character in front of you, a character card, and it's 2-sided, a possessed and an unpossessed side. And what you're doing is you're trying to surround that card with cards from your hand, and you're kind of like drawing from a deck. So there's a little bit of like light hand management. And you're trying to break down like their mental and physical weaknesses. So they have like a strength rating for like body and mind. And it's just 2 different colored cards, like purple and green. So I don't want to overcomplicate this. But you're playing cards in an array. It's basically like an upside down cross or crucifix. And you're trying to like play enough cards to like break both the mind and body
to possess the character.
To possess the character. And then you get to flip the character over. You get to roll dice for each card you have played in your little like reverse crucifix tableau. And ultimately what you're trying to do then is there is a character in the middle who is like
the exorcist.
The exorcist, yeah. And there's some variability there. There's like different exorcists with different attacks and different abilities, and they're all kind of like fun themes, you know, they're all like interesting or funny. Maybe depending on your sense of humor. But to me it was funny. And you're trying to defeat the exorcist, right? So, and the way you do that is you're essentially just like rolling handfuls of dice to like try to beat them. You get to kind of like interfere with your opponents, like play cards that make them discard cards from their tableau, making them roll less dice and making them take more turns to sort of like rebuild that crucifix. And the cards have some really fun actions on them. I know one person played a card that like we all had to talk in sort of like our own demonic voice on our turn, or else we had to like discard all of our cards or something like that. So there's a lot of like fun, wacky stuff like that. I think Chance, you had a good one, right?
I felt like I had
to startle someone.
Yeah, I had to. It was basically make a loud noise, and whoever's startled has to like lose a card from their tableau or something. so it definitely has that social aspect, like that.
Very much like a party game, I would say.
I feel like first we were. It's one of those games that can be a little awkward because like that card was played. It's like, oh, no one can speak unless they speak in a demonic voice, and it was like,
and we were all learning the game at that point, so like lots of questions and like, oh, can I do this or that? And you have to say it like this.
And I remember I was like, okay, I'm just gonna break the ice because we're all silent. I'm gonna break the ice and just do it. And then once we got to that, I felt like that was where the game clicked for us. Like, oh, it's that type of game.
It's a silly game.
Yeah, and then we got into it more. We're just chucking dice, like having fun. I felt like it's just a like it has that tableau building, the dice chucking, and just the ridiculousness of some of those social cards. So nothing that I would. It's one of those games where I'm not going to recommend this to everybody, but this is one that I'm going to be happy to play. We're going to be happy like when it's Halloween.
I think the dice glow in the
dark dice. Yeah. Like
I thought it was super fun. Yeah, there's people you would recommend this to, and like certain styles of gamers that like wouldn't be into it. It's not. It's not like a deterministic game.
It's not what you're going to want to win, right? You're not trying to win. You're just there to enjoy the experience.
You're just there to have fun. So. To me, it was like a big hit. I think everybody had a great time with it.
I had a great time with it. It was a joy.
Go give it a look, Go give it a rating on BGG.
Crazy.
Get that into the double digits.
Yeah, it's nice finding those games that no one's ever heard of. So, Yeah. All right. So that is Demoniac. You wanna introduce this game that you gifted to me for my fun injury?
Yeah, so I thought Chance was a little banged up, and I was like, I should get him a game, right? And this is one I had seen in the past. There's a couple versions of it floating around. I thought like theme-wise that you would enjoy this. And I will say like similar to Demoniac, this is not like a very thinky or like strategic game. It's not, I was like, I think this is the kind of game he would enjoy. Very much like a fun party game, very casual. But I thought the theme was really cool. And the theme, honestly, is a lot like Nemesis or something like that, and this one is more like The Thing.
Yeah.
And that's going to be this game is killer frozen horror. So the first one I believe is more of like an alien theme. This one is more like The Thing.
The Thing Outpost.
Yeah. And we had a blast with this one. I've played it a couple times now. I'm curious. I'm interested to play this at like it goes up to 10 players. I think we've played more in like the 4 to 5 range.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a blast. You want to talk about it some?
Yeah. I actually was thoroughly surprised with this one. I remember seeing this one before Josh got it for me, and I was like, oh, that looks ridiculous.
See it floating around on Amazon. It's like a pretty cheap game.
Yeah,
you don't really know what to think of it.
But I was very surprised with this one. I absolutely love playing this. I thought this was just an absolute blast. It has this cool system where you have this like simple board that you're in, and it's like your outpost. There's like 4 rooms in it, and there's these different colored paths you can go down. And basically everyone's dealt out. I think you just get 2 cards, and you're gonna go in this little snake order where like first player is going to play 1 card, and then next player is going to play a card, then you're going to go to the last player, and that last player is going to play their 2 cards, and then it's going to go back around the table. And those cards you're either going to play it for its ability or for its movement, and you have to choose 1 for each. You can't do like 2 movements, you can't do 2 abilities, you got to do 1 movement and 1 ability. So you're trying to decide, okay, what room do I want to move in, what ability card do I want to use to manipulate the game, because you can do things like move other people into different rooms or lock doors, or just cause some chaos during the game.
Very chaotic.
Yeah. And basically your goal is you don't want to end up in the same room as the horror, because if you're in the same room as the horror, then you die.
And the horror is one of the other players. You don't know who it is. It's
and it also changes every round. So like you can survive, and then you actually re-deal out the player and horror card. So you never know who the horror is. Thematically makes no sense, but I guess it's like a parasite and it's like jumping around from other people. I don't know.
I guess.
Sure. But I thought it was a really fun time, just like trying to move around, watching the chaos happen. Another one of these games where if you're trying to win, you're probably not going to have a ton of fun. But if you're just like there for the experience, for the social interaction, just for the laughs, right? like I had an absolute blast playing this one. This one's staying in my collection. I want to play it more. I'm definitely going to be.
It'd be a fun one to bring to like a convention where you can easily get together like 10 people or something to play it and just like let the chaos happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's going to wrap it up for our pre-gift gifts. Yeah. And now we are moving into the main event of today, and we're doing the actual gifts. And it looks like I'm
going to go first. I was thinking it would be fun for you to like get to ask some questions.
Right, first, okay.
Don't guess what it is.
Here we go.
But you can guess.
I'm going to ask some questions.
Yeah. Genre, theme.
Do you think I've heard of this game, first off?
I feel like you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of it.
It's been around for a while. It's been reprinted multiple times.
Multiple times?
This is the 3rd printing of this game.
Oh, okay. 3rd printing of this game.
So I would be surprised if you hadn't at least heard of it.
That changes everything. Like I would have thought it was going to be something more recent. Is it going to be chaotic or controlled?
I would say somewhere in between.
Take that or no take that?
Take that for sure.
Great.
In your face. Yeah.
This is going in the right direction. Love where this is heading.
I would say some chaos. Like I would say more on if like chaos is over here and like order is over here. I'd say it's more on this side.
So we have one friend that we play with that's not a fan of Take That. How much would I hurt his feelings if we played this game with him? Like on a scale of 1 to 10.
So I was actually watching some videos on this morning, and you definitely have to like. It is very like combat oriented. Like I almost feel like Take That sometimes takes like different forms where it's like opportunistic, like you can just like chip at somebody, versus like if you're playing a game that's kind of like based around fighting each other and stuff, sometimes people like tend to care less, or like they're more like, okay, like
yep,
that's just how it is. I'd say it's more on that side where like, okay, we're fighting, like that's how it is.
Man, I have no guesses for this, and you said you don't even want me to guess what it is. So
I don't want you to guess the actual game because you might get it right.
I think should we just do it?
Go for it. I think you just kind of like
just open this thing up
out to Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon wrapping services.
I'm excited to play this one. The more I learn about it, also glow in the dark.
Glow in the dark.
Yeah, there's some glow in the dark in this.
This sounds like a winner. Okay,
hopefully I'll throw a game in there.
Yeah, it's one of your games. Nexus Ops.
Nexus Ops.
This is fantastic. I have looked at this game.
Oh, okay. I didn't say you have it. I looked on BGG, and I was like, I was surfing your profile this morning, actually, and I was like, I should probably make sure he doesn't have this.
Yeah, no, this is on. I have thought about buying this one before, so
nice.
This is like on one of my wish lists somewhere.
Yeah. You want me to talk about it a little?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nexus Ops is like older. It's been around for a long time, and people talk about it as sort of a sci-fi risk kind of evolution. And the way it works is there's actually some cool variants. So you can see here, there's actually this 3D sculpt where you can play like this King of the Hill variant.
So we got so for those listening, it's like a tree trunk in the center, or like a volcano or something.
Yeah, you're playing like various sort of like sci-fi corporations in the future on this planet trying to mine something called like rubium, I believe. And rubium is used to like buy like different units. And so you start with like your basic like humans humans have to like roll 6s to hit in combat, all the way up to like dragons and weird like sci-fi creatures. And the boards are actually 2-sided, so there's different units available as well. But yeah, it's sort of this hexagon based map, and you're all like trying to, I think it's a race to like 12 points or something. And the way you get points is through winning combat. So you see like but one of the interesting things you can do is you get like cards throughout the game, right? So there's, you can get like 1 point for winning a battle, but you might have cards in your hand that are like, hey, I won a battle with like humans in it, and some of the humans.
Nice.
So like I play 1 card for just winning the battle and get 1 point. I play my humans card, and humans are like the weakest, units. So I might get like 2 more points, and then I might get 1 more point for like winning a battle on magma or something like that.
So like that. That gives you kind of like your
that's hidden information.
Yeah, your incentives for winning battles or losing battles is hidden from the other players.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
And then even if you lose the battle, you get this third type of card, which I think they're called like energize. Yeah, energize cards. And they are like these really powerful abilities that act as sort of like a catch-up mechanic, I suppose, or like help, even if you lose, like you're getting something out of it. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this one. We have a Battle of Hoth here behind us, and it sort of reminds me of that a little bit, but it's like, the way it was described to me sounded really interesting. It's a very like easy to teach, easy to play war game with a cool theme, and some cool like card play elements, interesting units that are varied from one another. And I believe some element of this glows in the dark. I was led to believe that. So,
we'll have to test it out. Maybe the rubium. But this is a fantastic gift. Like I said, this game I have been looking at for a little while, and I'm super excited to get this one played.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't own it. Yeah, I feel like we've both been on I've been on a board game purchasing hiatus just because I was like, I don't want to inadvertently buy something.
Exactly. Yep. I've been very careful about what I've been purchasing.
But I'm looking forward to that. I think
so. Nexus Ops, we'll be hearing about that one in the future. That's now on my excited to play list and on my shelf of shame list as well. Yeah. So, okay, let's move on to Josh. So Josh. I am almost certain you don't own this game. I'm actually relatively certain.
My BGG pretty like updated, so.
I would be surprised if you've heard of this game.
Ooh, one I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Wow.
You have any probing questions?
Man, that's tough. If you think I haven't heard of it, wow, you dug deep.
Oh yeah, this is crazy. I came across it and I was
let's start with like player count. Is this a 4-player game, or
it's probably going to do best at 4? I believe it's going to be 2 to 4. It might play 5. I can't remember exactly, but actually I do have I got my notes.
That's most games out there.
Sorry, 3 to 5. I apologize. Not 2. 3 to 5. We're going 3 to 5.
3 to 5 players. Is this? Oh man, what do I want to ask? Is this chaotic? I'll kind of mirror some of your questions. This is more on like the order side of things.
This is a little chaotic. Yeah. It definitely has some control. There's one of the descriptions I read probably doesn't fully align with what you enjoy, but I think it has enough of the other stuff that you do. So it's going to have some chaos, but some decent amount of control as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think. I don't know what to.
Well, I can tell you. So I can tell you what's playtime.
Okay.
Because I chose this game, 1, because of the theme, and 2nd, because I felt like it landed in your weight and playtime like sweet spot.
Okay.
So like we got 3 to 5 players, slightly chaotic. We got 30 to 60 minutes on the playtime.
Love that.
Yep, and a weight of a 2.38.
This is
Yep. So I felt like this was a good spot for you. I think this is out of print.
Ooh.
This is still
it took you a while to get it, I think.
It took me a little while. I ordered it from a distributor, like a main board game site, but I think there's still some copies left on Amazon. There's still some there's still copies floating around, but it was published in 2016. So, and it didn't get a whole lot of attention as far as I can tell. I found it though because I was kind of looking for a gift for you.
Yeah.
And I was looking at games that we played together that we enjoyed, and I kind of clicked on that BGG. They have the like recommended games, what you might like.
Yeah.
I went through there, and this one just showed up. I was like, what is this?
I love that mechanic. I need to do that more.
Yeah. So I did that, and so go. If you don't have any other questions, I would say let's find out what this thing is.
Let's do it. Everything you've said sounds really interesting to me. I like the time, the game time, the wait. I will say, like, we had Lightning Train pulled up and it was like a 3. And one thing I'll say about Lightning Train before I open this, I'd be like, this is about like as far as I like to go in wait.
Yep.
Like it's a little crunchy. It's not like too crazy. There's some exceptions to that. There's some games I like that are weighted higher than that, but this sounds like it's right in my wheelhouse. So let's see what we got.
Yep.
Oh man. Adrenaline.
Yes.
I don't think I've heard of this.
Yeah. This is going to be Adrenaline, published by Czech Games Edition here, and I believe designer is Flip Naduk. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. So like I said, published in 2016. One of the main reviews I read on BGG on this one, the thing I mentioned that one of the words doesn't align with you, they call it Euro FPS, Euro first-person shooter.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's a bit of a resource management thing here, and some of the other words I'm gonna call out for mechanics. We got. Says area majority, grid movement, hand management, open drafting, take that. And the one that got me to purchase it was one of the mechanics said kill stealing. So I was like, fantastic. This sounds great.
This does sound cool.
So this game is a nice, quick little first-person shooter. It's kind of like a battle royale where you're going to be going around and you're just trying to shoot other players. But the cool thing is that it's kind of like a first-person shooter on like the Xbox or whatever, right? So as that player dies or they take the damage tokens or whatever, essentially one player is going to eventually kill that person and that person's going to score points. But everyone that assisted with that kill, they're also going to score points. But like the person that stole the kill or whatever, like maybe someone was like working that person down, then one person comes in and just takes that kill, they're going to score the most points.
Yeah.
And then that person that gets killed, they're going to spawn back at the spawn point. And they're just going to come back on the map and keep on playing. But the spawn point also has like where all the weapons are. Yeah. So like sometimes you might want to die so you can go and get the weapons. And then there's also a kind of a penalty or a disincentive for kind of picking on the same player over and over again. Yeah. So like when one player dies, like their point value goes down. So like you don't really want to kill that player anymore because you want to kill the other player. So
it's like a King of the Hill kind of thing. Like you have a leaderboard.
Exactly. Yeah. So you want to kill the player that hasn't died yet or whatever.
Oh, man.
So it has I thought it had a lot of good things in there for the take that, but also managing like picking on other players. And it just sounded like a game that would land for you, land for both of us, and maybe a good, fun one in our group.
I see on the back there's a quote from Tom Bassel that just like each gun has like a really distinctive feel. Yeah, I'm excited for this. This looks cool.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this though. You were right.
Yep. Like I said, I came across it and I was like, what on earth is this game?
I am looking forward to both of these.
Yep. I think we got some great ones.
Play it soon.
So now we both have some excited to play games on our shelf of shame as well.
Yeah.
I think that was a great Xmas gift exchange.
Yeah, we'll keep the tradition alive.
Yep, exactly. I think that's going to do it for today. You got anything else to add to the closing of this podcast?
Nothing to add, but if there's any topics you all want to see covered or like things you want to hear us weigh in on, feel free to chime in.
Yep. We have a comment, so we don't have an email or anything set up yet, but this is also on YouTube. So if you search Shelf to Table, you can leave a comment under our video and I'll read those there. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for today. So thanks for listening to Shelf to Table, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening.